Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And with the government still saying nothing about what they intend to do about the much worse than forecast cost of energy crisis looming, talk quite a bit about the situation for households and will again, because the government have a lot of options to help out. But it's businesses, and in particular small and medium-sized businesses, which are also up against it. And there's no help for them at all, it seems. And their bills are going up way higher than domestic energy bills. So why is there no discussion about what to do to help with the small businesses who account for half the employment in this country? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I've discussed options for the government to deal with the cost of energy for domestic users. This is because there's plenty of them. There are several ones. Labour have got a plan which would temporarily freeze energy prices altogether. It wouldn't require any deferred taxation to pay for it. The money comes from windfall tax and what Starmer describes as the unexpected profits of oil and gas companies. Energy companies have got their own proposal to freeze prices, but that does involve borrowing and making ordinary people pay nearly 3 times as much as Labour's plan later on in the form of higher taxes so they can preserve their profits. The government could just provide grants, as they already planned to, but needing larger ones now. The problem with that is it just stokes inflation, whereas freezing the price cools inflation down. But in all honesty, there are no ideal solutions. I mentioned this in the past. Every solution you put up has a drawback, and a fairly serious one. Because we are in a crisis, there's no good way out. Every solution that has been put forward has a major drawback. Every one that's been suggested has a major drawback. For example, there is a problem with freezing energy prices in that people won't necessarily restrict their use of energy this winter. Now, ideally, we'd have a plan that means people try to restrict their use of energy, but can still afford to use what is reasonable. So they don't do without energy that's actually needed. But nobody seems to have an economic plan that would deliver this. So if you charge more people, if you allow the energy prices to go up, yes, people will use less. But the danger is that some use too little and die this winter. There are people in mortal danger as a result of this. If you keep the prices the same, then people are likely to maintain normal levels of energy use or winter energy use, or at least what it was last winter. There's a genuine shortage of gas coming into Europe right now. This is a major factor in the price rises. It's absolutely the case that gas companies have jacked up their prices well above what is justified in the normal rough and tumble of supply and demand economics. They are profiteering big time. It's like they saw, there's going to be a shortage, the price will have to go up. Let's whack it up way higher. In fact, some have argued they should be treated as war profiteers and legal action be taken. But despite the fact that the prices have gone up way beyond what would be expected purely from the relative shortage, doesn't detract from the fact that there's less gas available, including in the UK. As economists keep pointing out, because there are real shortages, all governments can really do is change the distribution of costs. Because the overall thing is going to cost more. How do you redistribute who pays? But the costs are going to be higher. In the UK, we have a government who want ordinary people to pay for it. And they don't want to require the gas companies to pay for it. Other governments insist that the gas companies pay for the bulk of it. Some other governments balance it between them. But all governments are doing some form of allocating the costs. But in the UK, there's a discussion about how that reallocation should work for domestic users, but not business users. We're seeing more regular articles about small businesses closing because they can't afford the energy bills. Domestic energy use is capped in the UK, but business and industrial use is not. There are countries that cap all energy use. There are a few that at least cap business energy use as well as domestic. There are others that don't, of course. The UK is not unique in this regard. But what it means is that a lot of small businesses in this country are likely to go under. Some have already gone under. Some have looked at the prices going up and have said, we cannot survive this. They've already made the decision to close. Which is why it's important as well that when the government intend to do something, that they don't just say, we'll just wait for later. Like Liz Truss is saying, wait until I'm Prime Minister before I announce my plan. It's like, the problem is people are making decisions now. If you might be offering some help for small businesses, but you're not saying now, those small businesses are making their decisions now, and some of them are making the decisions to close. Half of all employment in the UK is via these sort of smallish businesses. So when a business goes under, it's not just the business owner who suffers, but their employees as well. Now, it's one thing if a badly run business goes under. You can argue that the market conditions to survive were there, but that business just didn't know how to take advantage. So the workers might find alternative employment because that gap in the market's still there. Someone else will come up and employ them and, it might work out. But when business closures are down to a massive change in the economic environment, like an extinction event, you're talking about net loss of job opportunities. So workers losing jobs are less able to find something else. Article in the BBC, I'll link it below, showed data which indicates that business closures have reached their lowest level in 8 years. There was a steep rise after the Conservatives committed to a hard Brexit, you can see. There was an even steeper rise as we got to the business end of that hard Brexit. But the closures have been coming down very rapidly over the past couple of years, even through the pandemic. But, and this is important, new businesses opening hasn't mirrored this. It's not like as closures have come down, openings have gone up. Not only is there a net closure of businesses still, and there has been throughout this period, but the gap is at least as wide as it was 8 years ago. It's narrower than it was recently, at the end of the Brexit process and during the pandemic, but it's still a net closure of businesses. And the cost of energy crisis is threatening to increase the number of closures yet again. And there's absolutely zero reason to suppose we'll see a corresponding increase in the number of businesses opening to replace them. So this is not going to happen. So what can be done to help these businesses? Well, the obvious thing is to cap their energy prices. But this is politically unlikely. Like I said, we have shortages. We shouldn't. We should have carried on the last Labour government's work of insulating more homes so we don't need to use as much gas, cutting back on energy production from fossil fuels so we can generate electricity from other sources. But we didn't. And we can't turn back the clock now. We can't change that overnight. We can hope that the government takes these measures more seriously for the future. But that doesn't help the immediate emergency. But right now we have a government who don't even want to help domestic users with their energy bills, let alone business ones. Liz Truss has ruled out making gas and oil companies pay more tax to address the issue. That being said, she's ruled out a lot of things that she'll have to U-turn on, so we'll see. But what is clear is that she will do the bare minimum necessary to keep enough voters on side to give her a sniff at the next election. But this is not likely to include businesses. And that's because there doesn't seem to be any political pressure to protect businesses. All of the media and public pressure is about domestic energy bills. You read an article on household bills and it's all a case of, this is terrible, the government must do something. But when you read an article about businesses facing closure, it's more a case of, oh, poor buggers, shame there's nothing we can do. I even tried looking at the Financial Times for an article on proposals to help businesses. Surely a serious economics outlet would have a suggestion. Couldn't find anything. Nothing. I mean, I can find information on how businesses are suffering, but nothing on a credible plan to put to the government. You can find individual economists explaining the system and how it needs a complete rethink, such as Professor Richard Murphy, but you're not seeing any influential voices in the media or within conservative spheres of influence, which is what you need because they're in government. You can't see any of those people talking about the help businesses need. It's like the party of businesses decided to enshrine Boris Johnson's word on their hearts. When someone tweeted this about their mother's cafe, someone else responded by saying they couldn't believe it was true. Because, if this were true, surely there'd be a national scandal. It's like, not only did the person tweeting it post up a copy of the letter from the energy company proving it, but I felt compelled to point out some parts of the mainstream media have been writing articles about this for a while now. What's absent from the picture are reports in the media that most people read. You may not see it in the Daily Express, for example. The reason it's not a national scandal is the same reason almost none of the atrocities this government commits against their own country is a national scandal. The nation is not informed of it. There's a deliberate attempt not to inform the nation about the plight of small businesses. Far from being the party of small business, Tory ideology actually holds that businesses have to be allowed to go to the wall so that the stronger ones can thrive. It's like the Hunger Games. That is their entire political philosophy. I keep saying they're not the party of business. They've never been the party of business. They are the party of the elite, the party of the ultra wealthy. The only businesses they back are the large corporations and those who donate to them or donate significant amounts to them. So whatever help may or may not come from Liz Truss, once she can be bothered to announce her plan in a couple of weeks, it's unlikely to provide much succour for businesses because there doesn't seem to be much political pressure on her to do much for them. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships, and until next time, I'll see you later.